Hi, Summit families. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to my porch. I'm going to read chapter 9. It is titled Secrets, Secrets Everywhere. Richie cheered up a little when Mrs. Brisbane announced that I'd be going home with him for the weekend. I was happy too. I thought maybe we could get our minds off boats. But once I got to the Rinaldi home, I found out I was wrong. In fact, boats were just about all that Richie thought about. There's always a lot going on at Richie's house with his parents, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, and cousins hanging out there. They were all there on Saturday. So many kids. Serena and Sarah, Alex and Anthony, George and Josie, Richie and Rita. Later in the afternoon, they all ended up in the bathroom with me. I was in my hamster ball, which Richie carefully set on top of the tissue box so I wouldn't roll off. At first, I was happy that Richie brought me along. A little later, I wasn't so sure. "Watch this," said Richie as he turned on the faucets and the tub began to fill with water. "What's going on?" asked Rita. George backed away. "I don't want to take a bath. I had one yesterday." "I doubt that. Maybe the day before," his sister Josie snapped. "Maybe." "We're not here to take a bath," said Richie. "We're here to see what floats." Aha! I realized that Richie was going to show his cousins what Mr. Fitch and Mrs. Brisbane had showed us in the library. Richie started off by holding up a penny. "Float or won't float?" he asked. "Won't," his cousins shouted in unison. The penny sank to the bottom of the tub. Next, George took out a pencil out of his pocket. "Float or won't float?" "Will," Rita, Serena, and Sarah agreed. "Won't," Alex, Anthony, and Josie agreed. The pencil floated beautifully. All it needed was a sail to look just like a sailboat. The cousins soon scattered all over the house and returned with more things to test. They tried a peppermint stick. It sank. A flip-flop floated. A leaf floated until it got soggy and sank. A seashell sank. A plastic cup did something very surprising. It floated on its side until it was 3/4 of the way full of water. Then it tipped up and floated upright. Finally, a teddy bear floated on his back with a big smile on his face. I guess it's okay for a furry teddy bear to get wet, unlike furry hamsters. Then George and Anthony got into a splashing fight. George's dad looked in to see what was going on. "It's a science experiment," Richie told them. "Anything that can get George into the bathtub is fine with me," he said. "Just clean up the mess when you're finished." It was fun to watch all the splashing until Alex grabbed the hamster ball and said, "What about this? Will it float?" No, I squeaked. I didn't want to know if the ball would float or not, but I knew I didn't want to get wet. Even though the plastic would protect me from the water, those air holes were sure to let the water in. When I wished for an adventure on the water, this wasn't what I had in mind. Alex was carrying me toward the tub as I shrieked, "Stop him! I shouldn't get wet!" I wasn't sure if anyone could hear me with all the plastic around me. He held the ball over the water. I took a deep breath and squeaked, "Eek!" At that point, my friend Richie grabbed the ball out of Alex's hands. "Not with Humphrey in it, you dodo." Richie opened the ball and took me out and handed the ball back to his cousin. "Here," he said. Alex dropped my hamster ball into the tub, where it bobbed up and down in the water, floating along. My heart was pounding, but I was glad I wasn't inside. Richie put me back in my cage, where I burrowed into my sleeping hut for a dry, long nap. That was a bird. On Sunday afternoon, Richie cleaned my cage. He did an excellent job. While he was changing my water, his mom came in, brought the phone in, and said he had a call. "Hello," Richie said. "Oh, Kirk." He sure didn't seem happy to hear from his partner. Okay. That's all I heard. I couldn't hear what Kirk said, but Richie told me after he said goodbye. Dumb old Kirk. He took the boat home again and wanted to tell me it sailed really great, Richie explained. What a jerk. Kirk the jerk. That wasn't very nice. Then he unexpectedly slipped me in. Then he unexpectedly slipped me in his pocket. It wasn't dark in there, but I could make out a couple of dry raisins and half a stick of gum that stuck to the cloth. Luckily, I was only in there for a few seconds. Richie went into the bathroom and locked the door and took me out of his pocket. He set me in the empty soap dish. I was a little nervous when he started filling up the bathtub with water, especially after the experiments from the day before. "Don't worry, Humphrey. You're not getting a bath," Richie assured me. "I just want to show you something. It's a secret." Once the tub was full, he showed me a strange-looking boat. "This is my remote control submarine. It's pretty cool, isn't it?" The submarine was a very sleek boat, nothing like the sailboats we had been studying. It was completely gray and had no sails, just a tower-like thing coming up in the middle. "Here's the periscope," Richie pointed out to a long tube coming out of the water. "When you're underwater, you can see what's on the top of the water. It's amazing." In real submarines, people can live underwater for weeks, even months. They can sneak up on enemies because no one even knows they're there, Richie said. After he put the submarine in the tub, he used a remote control like the one Mr. Fitch's television had to make it move through the water. "I can control when it goes up and when it goes down," he explained. "See?" Using the controls in his hands, he made the submarine dive down until it was completely underwater. It glided silently across the bottom of the tub. "Now, watch this," he said. I watched carefully as he pushed some buttons, and suddenly the submarine glided to the surface of the water. "That's a great," I happily squeaked. My classmates are so clever, but my little hamster heart sank almost to my stomach when Richie said, "I'm going to take this submarine to Potter's Pond for the boat race." "That's against the rules," I squeaked. "Kirk thinks he's so smart," Richie muttered. The submarine dived to the bottom of the tub. "I'll hide it in my backpack. While the race is on, I'll sneak to the sidelines and slip the submarine in the water. Then I'll bring it up right next to his stupid tall ship, just to show him I can handle a boat too." Something could go wrong. What if the submarine hits the boat? I tried to warn him, but it was no use. "I'll probably get in trouble," Richie admitted, "but I don't want the stupid prize anyways." My mind was racing. If I could get my paws on that controller, maybe I could stop him. But Richie put the submarine and the device in a cabinet way up high. I could see there was no way a small hamster could reach it. I've helped a lot of my friends in a lot of weekend visits, but there was no way I could change Richie's mind. "It'll be our little secret," he told me. It wasn't a secret I wanted to keep. At least I wouldn't be there to see it. "Good news, class," Mrs. Brisbane announced on Monday. "The weather tomorrow is picture perfect. So the trip to Potter's Pond is on." My friends gave a cheer. Even though the picnic was off for me, I managed a celebratory squeak. I felt terrible for Mrs. Brisbane. She planned everything so well, but things weren't going to go according to her plan unless I came up with a bright idea to stop Richie. Everyone was excited about the picnic the next day, but they were perfectly quiet when Mrs. Brisbane read the final chapter to Jolly Roger's book. Vic and Vi helped their uncle scare off the pirates with the help of a very loud whistle. Can you believe it? And even then, to the children's surprise, they set sail with the treasure to the real owners. It turns out that Uncle Jolly Rogers was a good pirate. Richie was a good guy too. The good guys don't always do bad things, do they? Well, maybe sometimes they do. I needed a plan, but in order to have a plan, I needed some research. Mrs. Brisbane talked about research from time to time. I figured out it meant learning more about a subject. When the students had to do research, they usually went to the library. So I decided to undertake a little project of my own. First, I had to wait for Aldo to finish cleaning the room. He was very, very cheery that night, whistling the hornpipe song and dancing around with the broom. "Well, me buckos, tomorrow I set sail," he said. "I hope your friends don't get attacked by pirates." The thought of pirates attacking anyone, especially my friends, made my whiskers twitch, but Aldo let out a jolly laugh. I waited a long time after Aldo left to make sure he had left Longfellow School for the night. Then I told Og about my mission. I slipped out of my cage, slid under the door, and headed towards the library. The hallways didn't seem so eerie anymore. I guess I was getting used to my nighttime journeys. I squeezed under the door of the library. I stopped to catch my breath and look around. The fish tank was glowing, thank goodness, because I needed the light. I headed straight for the remote control. If I could figure out how it worked, maybe I could figure out how to make Richie's remote not work. I scrambled up the stair-like shelf and scampered across the desk to the remote control. Research can be hard, as I found out that night, but I learned a lot. First of all, remotes don't have cords that you can plug in and unplug like televisions and irons and other objects humans use. Second of all, those buttons do some very strange things besides turning off the television. I found the on-off button up on the screen. I saw a group of children walking down the sidewalk. When I pushed the next button, the children started walking backwards, which I thought was pretty funny. I hate to admit I spent quite a bit of time making those kids walk forwards and then backwards. Then it was time to get on with my research. One button turned on the sound on and off. The others made the pictures do all kinds of strange things, like change colors and get squiggly lines. None of the buttons made the remote stop except the on and off switch. There had been something else that had made the remote work. I checked more carefully and found a little compartment in the back. I jiggled it open, and 2 batteries rolled out. The batteries were the secret. Sure enough, when the batteries weren't in the remote, no matter how many times I pushed the on-off button, nothing happened. If I could take the batteries out of the back of Richie's remote control, it would not work. So the next morning, all I had to do was A, get into his backpack, B, find his remote, and C, take out the batteries, D, without anyone noticing. That was a tall order for a small hamster, but I vowed to give it my best shot. I could only cross my paws and hope that my friends would leave for Potter's Pond after morning recess and not first thing in the morning. But before that, I needed to get Mr. Fitch's batteries back into their little compartment. Let me tell you, taking batteries out is a lot easier than putting them back in. It took me 5 tries before the screen lit up and those children walked down the sidewalk again. Phew! I couldn't resist hitting the button that took the movie back to the beginning. I saw the title, Safety First. It showed how the children should cross the street safely. And it was a frightening sight. The children learned how to look both ways before crossing the street, how to wait for a kind crossing guard to stop with a traffic sign, and how to press a button on a pole and wait for a picture of a person walking across to light up. Those kids were very good at being safe, but I couldn't stop thinking about how unsafe a little hamster would be out on a sidewalk. All those big feet clomping along and huge cars whizzing by. The kindly crossing guard probably wouldn't be able to see me, and there was no way a creature of my size could reach up that pole and press the button for the walk light. Not only were hamsters in danger on water, we were unsafe out on the sidewalk. I hit the on-off button and dashed for the door. But I was anxious But as anxious as I was to get back to room 26, I stopped in my tracks by the sight of something under Mr. Fitch's desk. Being a naturally curious creature, I looked more closely. I was amazed at what I saw. It was a genuine pirate hat, big and black with a broad brim, right there in the library. Had a pirate been here and left it behind? Was Mr. Fitch secretly a pirate? Shiver me timbers, I squeaked. I dashed out of the library and back to the safety of room 26 as fast as my small legs could carry me. Be careful, all ye treasure seekers. You might find more than you've bargained for. From Jolly Roger's Guide to Life by Icy Waters. I hope you enjoyed chapter 9. Chapter 10 is titled Anchors Away. So I can't wait to hear more about the race on Potter's Pond. I hope you all are having a great day. Enjoy what's left of it, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.